Welcome to your weekly energy report for the first week of February, Aquarius season, and the first week of the new lunar year of the water tiger. Happy New Year, Kong Hei Fat Choi for those who wishes to speak Cantonese. And yeah, lots of new energy coming with this new moon, which of course is the new moon in Aquarius, is what denotes the beginning of a lunar year. And it's the second new moon after the winter solstice. That is how it's calculated. I'm excited about the year of the water tiger. I think that there's a lot of growth there for all of us to adopt, explore, engender, pivot upon, I suppose. Venus is also going direct this week, as is Mercury. Of course, they're both going to be stationing direct, so we're not going to have this massive forward movement, but it will be good to get out of the intense quicksand that I personally have experienced Venus retrograde to have been from an emotional perspective. A necessary quicksand, perhaps, to hold us in place. Like, I suppose one could look at it as being like the hangman in emotions, but it did feel like it could swallow me up a few times, and I am not out of that just yet. But neither are we out of those retrograde energies just yet. So perhaps there's just a last minute, intensification to make sure that we are learning the lessons. And trust me, I've been very resistant to learning lessons. I've done all kinds of things that have caused me to feel guilt and shame and self-judgment. And again, the things within themselves are not necessarily worthy of that. Some may be. But I am not infallible, and nor are you. And I guess if I could just forgive myself. I mean, I make it sound as though I murdered somebody. I'm not talking about anything like that. But, just stuff. Like feeling like a hypocrite. Feeling like I don't deserve to be happy because I don't always stay true to my principles, my values, my system of thought, which of course, coming out of Sagittarius into Capricorn, has been solidifying in a different way, and it's all very confusing. The energies of this time are extremely confusing. In addition to that, we had Uranus squaring the Sun, more of this jolting, intensified energy that none of us really understands, because it's really hard to understand exactly what Uranus represents. It's kind of like something that you can only feel within, right? It's ineffable. And then now, this coming week, we have the Sun conjuncting Saturn, which will be another embrace of a new form of how we see ourselves as being empowered. And it's hard to get specific with that too, because it's metaphysical on the microcosmic level. And that is what a lot of this energy has been all about. So if you have been feeling existentially crippled, or punched in the gut, or in doubt, in failure, then this reading will resonate well for you, because there's a lot of clarification about this in here. I think that's all I'm going to say on the astrology. I mean, that's a lot, right? Already. So let's keep this short and sweet and get into our cards. I only pulled certain oracle cards this week because others just didn't really feel like they were calling to me. So I guess we're going to start with excuse me, our soul journey lessons cards. And we got 2 that came out together, so a lot to talk about with all of that. And they did come in this order: failure, and then indecision. So underlying energies, the mysteries behind our feelings, there is a truth, a revelation in these cards. That's how I wish to convey them to you. It's what my own divine intuition is telling me. So let's start with failure, because failure is something that I have been feeling a lot of lately. And it's not failure, you know, it reminds me of a Justin Bieber song called Lonely. If you happen to feel like listening to that song, look it up if you don't know it. It's actually a very pretty song, and while it does speak specifically about the complaints of a former child star grappling with loneliness and the illusion of success, I think that it can speak to all of us. And I certainly was relating to that feeling that I can be surrounded by so many people and have so much opportunity in a materialistic sense, I suppose, but feel extremely lonely and isolated and alienated and foreign and alien and separate, and therefore failed in my human experience at this particular crossroads, right? And that forces us into examination of what is causing that. Why is that our truth? Why is that our reality? Why are we feeling that way? Why can we not connect? Why do others not want to connect to us in the way that we want to connect with them? How much accountability do we have in that? What is getting in our way? I understand that a mistake is only an opportunity to learn. Life on Earth is full of experiences. It is our human brain that views outcomes as good or bad. The soul simply views them as chances to grow. Learn to see the big picture of life instead of the minutiae. Failure to accomplish a task is merely the opportunity to evolve, and the negative connotation of the word failure can prevent you from trying again. You must come to the realization that there is no judgment involved with your soul's lessons. Realize that what you view as a failure is just your soul telling you that there is another path. Embrace the maxim, when one door closes, another one opens. It is a time for you to stop any negative emotional investment you have in the outcome. Revel in the knowingness that everything will reveal itself when it is meant to. No matter what, be true to your dream and the creative process. And there is a strong call to that. Year of Tiger energy is a lot of that is about creativity. A lot of it is a renewal. A lot of it is coming back into that, and I certainly can relate to that. I don't say that I've given up on creativity in my life. Obviously, I create all the time in some shape or form, but the conventional or traditional ways for me of creating have been somewhat abandoned as a result of being so caught up in three-dimensional meanderings. Could you please stop, Enzo? Really? God. Mister, I understand that there's something back there, but it would be much better if you could just not. And being disconnected from those disciplines can turn into a very barren, gray landscape, because there's such a disconnect from the light when you go into that type of suppression. And it's hard. I mean, it's hard to follow the path of least resistance. In other words, be an acceptance of the universal flow. And always stay solidified in our self-confidence about how the experience is affecting us and what it's giving us, and whether or not we're depriving ourselves of something monumental, of our purpose, of our core truth. Of course, everything we experience has a fundamental opportunity within it, but hopefully this year to come there'll be an opportunity to bridge that gap, so that growth can be imbued with the magic of our soul. So then we also have indecision, right? And indecision in conjunction with failure, you can see where the correlation may be. One comes as a consequence of the other. I'm seeing this sort of in the North Node, South Node, influences of Scorpio, Taurus, what we're leaving behind, what we're moving into, what we need to embrace, failure and indecision would sort of be the negative interaction of the axis of those two signs. I'm not sure how to express that exactly. Hopefully you're understanding what I'm trying to say. So what is the opposite of that? And success and conviction, I'd say, that's what we need to move our focus into in experiencing the new Taurus versus Scorpio karmic juggling act. We are at the very beginning of it, so it will still be a juggling act. I use my intuition in all aspects of my life. Your soul is spirit manifest in this physical dimension. Even though you may feel limited by the constraints of your body, your connection to the infinite wisdom of the universe is always available to you in the form of intuition. You never are alone when making any decision. Spirit only wants the best for you, and by listening to your inner voice, you will always be guided to the proper outcome. All you have to do is ask. The expectation of others is only an illusion. You were not born to listen to fear. You were taught to listen to it. What? Oh, you were taught to listen to it. You weren't born to listen to fear. You were taught to listen to it. Visualize any decision in your life as a fork in the road. How does your body react when you imagine your travels down each path? At first glance, one may look easier to traverse, but the destination will cause anxiety and a heavy heart. Another path may be more difficult to walk, but the destination will feel light and calm. When you silence your mind and listen to your intuition, the signposts will always be obvious. And again, cause and effect. When we're in poverty consciousness, when we feel like we either have to hold on in that 4 and 5 of Pentacle energy, holding on tight in the 4 of Pentacles energy, then leads to the feeling of never having enough, of being in failure. And I have been experiencing that because of some decisions that I made, notably in terms of my material infrastructure in my life. And the emptiness that comes, the hollowness that comes as a result of prioritizing security over the magic of life becomes a much pricier, much more costly choice the more awake we become. In fact, I'm going to come right back because I have to grab my phone because I did some stream of consciousness writing last night. There were 2 things I wanted to share, so I'll be right back. Bear with me. Hopefully it will make sense. This was just a rumination on some of the things that I've been feeling, so I'll try reading them. So for me, the root that you will find in all of this, just to give you an idea of where the equivalency might be in your life, triggers of not being respected, realizing that I don't manage the feeling of not being validated, not being respected, not being seen, based upon what I either think I'm entitled to, or what the world has put me in the position to expect entitlement to. I won't read the part in between because it's very personal, but the way it manifests in me is that that sense of lack that I was conditioned to experience by not being seen, not being validated, not being encouraged to do the things that my heart told me I wanted to do, I lash out in some form of punitive violence, or I take whatever I feel deprived of in any other available way. I feel I deserve it because I've endured abuse. This in turn triggers this trauma programming, and it's a form of defense. I'm defending myself, right? And you'll see why I'm sharing that because of our underlying tarot energy here. So maybe we'll just get into that before I read the second part, because the second part is more an outcome perspective. But we had as our underlying energy in the deck the 7 of Wands with the Ace of Cups. So the 7 of Wands is that defense mechanism that prevents us from receiving the Ace of Cups. And there is a big Ace of Cups on the horizon for us, and we're going to be challenged. Of course, there's nothing definitive. It doesn't matter. There'll be other Aces of Cups, but this particular Ace of Cups is a big one. It's a, brand new lunar year. It's the new, for many of us, our emotional patterns are going to be transformed. it is, in a way, the birthing of a new consciousness, which we're aiming to grow collectively, right? But we start with ourselves and how we live our lives. And the reason I'm reading the underlying energy of the tarot before we finished our oracle cards, which goes against our usual path, is because this energy is very central to these cards. So I feel like it will shed light on that in addition to what I just shared from my own writing. And the clarifier from Osho was the guilt card in reverse, which is I'm very thrilled to see, because I mean, really, that is what we need to release. And that's the release of scorpionic energy. So it's the first tone of that nodal flavor. I will read guilt for us because it gives us a sense of exactly what this process is that we need to let go of, that's getting in the way of us receiving the love that we deserve and giving the love that we deserve, because if we can't give the love, we can't receive it, right? Guilt is one of the most destructive emotions in which we can get caught. If we have wronged another or gone against our own truth, then of course we will feel bad. But to let ourselves be overwhelmed with guilt is to invite a migraine. We end up surrounded by nagging clouds of self-doubt and feelings of worthlessness, to the point where we cannot see any of the beauty and joy that life is trying to offer us. Amen. That is exactly what I have been feeling. And no, I'm not going to tell you why specifically. We all long to be better people. More loving, more aware, more true to ourselves. But when we punish ourselves for our failures by feeling guilty, we can get locked into a cycle of despair and hopelessness that robs us of all clarity about ourselves and the situations we encounter. You are absolutely okay as you are, and it is absolutely natural to go astray from time to time. Just learn from it, move on, and use the lesson not to make the same mistake again. This moment, this here now, is forgotten when we start thinking in terms of achieving something. When the achieving mind arises, you lose contact with the paradise you're in. This is one of the most liberating approaches. It liberates you right now. Forget about all the sin and forget all the saintliness. Both are stupid. Both together have destroyed all the joys of humanity. The sinner is feeling guilty, hence his joy is lost. How can you enjoy life if you are continuously feeling guilty? You can't. If you are continuously going to the church to confess that you have done this wrong and that wrong, and wrong and wrong and wrong, your whole life seems to be made of sins. How can you live joyously? It becomes impossible to delight in life. You become heavy, loaded. Guilt sits on your chest like a rock. It crushes you. It does not allow you to dance. How can you dance? How can you guilt dance? How can you guilt sing? How can you guilt love? How can you guilt live? So the one who thinks he is doing something wrong is guilty, burdened, dead before death. He's already entered the grave. Well, fuck that. I ain't playing that shit. Made me very thirsty. All those words. Okay. So, to continue with this reading, this rather interesting, different reading, because you'll see I also pulled our cards very differently in the actual tarot part. We won't see, because I can't really show you, but we got these two cards together. Purity and purification. Purification came out first, purity second. So, what is purification to you? What is purity? What do those mean? And from what I just read of that guilt card and that Ace of Cups that wants to come in, that we haven't, our conditioning is not allowing us to to let in. How does that all tie in? It's difficult for new, vibrant energy to enter your life if it is clogged with old and outdated energy. Cleanse and purify your body and your physical space. This is a great time for a detox, clutter, clearing, cleansing, and any space clearing. Release outdated energy to invite fresh, clear energy into your life. Eat lightly. Don't take things personally. Release resentment, guilt, and blame. Purify yourself. Thought, word, and deed. Decluttering is modern day alchemy. If you don't love it or use it, let it go. This card can also represent abundance, as flowing water is a metaphor for the prosperity and summer is the time of expansion. I mean, it's not summer for all of us, but there's a nice sunflower with summer rain on it to tide you over if you need it. And then purity, let's read that, because that's the state that we move into as a result of purification, of course. Not that you didn't know that. No matter what has happened in the past, everything can be fresh and new again. The purity of your soul is shining through everything that you encounter. You are entering into a period of grace. Simply open your heart and know that the best is yet to be. The past does not need to equal the future. Your future can be and will be shimmering, sparkling, and bright. Old limiting patterns are dropping away. Recurring challenges are releasing. This is a time of redemption, forgiveness, and holy healing. And of course, that is the most difficult thing when you're stuck in guilt, blame, shame, any low frequency vibration, because you can't really step out of it. It's a self-perpetuating, self-fulfilling prophecy. It is like quicksand. It's like a swamp, basically, and you're just stuck in it, stuck in the mud of chaos, emotional chaos. And it all comes down to one thing, just letting go, forgiving yourself. And what does that even mean, And I mean, I'll read this, I guess, is the seed into the other thing I wrote, which I really don't remember the exact part of, but so bear with me. Start looking at life as a game rather than an emotional prison. Give yourself the space of forgiveness to be able to make mistakes. Acknowledge that they are mistakes, and then transcend each mistake outside of the limitation of time and space. They all converge within those bounds. The mistakes I made 20 years ago or 40 years ago are embedded in my psychology. In alignment with astrology, the recognition of cycles, opportunities, and portals are simply the language of the game. Rather than sinking into shame and self-judgment, embrace the challenge of understanding the cause and potential effect, eventually eliminating the need for undesired effect altogether. No longer about consequences, our lives become imbued with magical opportunities. Shed the negative feelings. Guilt, shame, dread, fear, and emotional pain only exist as a result of our own insistence. While it is necessary to be mindful when our actions seem out of alignment with our principles, it is important to remember and observe that the mind creates anything we want. We have to learn to choose to want better. This sounds almost abstract, but it is a discipline and one that is quite accessible. It's simply a matter of changing our perspective. Anyway, I don't usually share my personal writings, but that seemed appropriate for today. So hopefully, ow, don't bite me. No, 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 ah! Why are you being like that, you sausage head? I love you. No, I'm doing something very important right now. Are you just jealous? Okay. Oh, so the crowning oracle energy sort of wraps all of that up and tells us what happens when we move out of all of this stagnant energy that keeps us from, seeing through the fog, breaking free, and then being stuck subsequently in a defensiveness that is a cesspool of guilt, shame, dread, worry, fear, blah, 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 blah. Indecision and failure being the fire beneath all these things, because we can't let go of them. So we sink into it over and over again, just more and more. Well, anyway. Energy of love. Behold the world through the eyes of love. Impoverished is the one who identifies the beloved with trade. Destitute is the one who wants the beloved for status or as a sign of affluence. Foolish is the one who wants to keep the beloved only for the self. And sorry. This oracle speaks to you of opening your heart to the true value of love in your life. It offers you sweet advice. Do not want love for your own self-satisfaction, wealth, or affluence. Otherwise, you will center your life on fear and greed. When you find the beloved through the light of love that is inside your heart, your whole existence will become an expression of your beloved. When you feel that love within your heart, the chemistry flows through you and your creativity will be heightened. Truly, this happens. And you will feel the breath of being, and you will feel the breath of the beloved mingling with your own. Dear one, congratulate yourself because you are destined to meet an unconditional love within your heart, which is both renewing and transforming. A sacred light will surround you and your beloved, anointing and blessing your time together. The experience can be overwhelming and even disorienting, but it will send you soaring as if you are wrapped in the circling presence of a truly divine energy. When you are blessed with such an unconditional love, feel the awareness within yourself and notice the aura that surrounds your being. Let love become your guide and dare to follow it. What appears in your beloved will also manifest in you. Know that one glance from a beloved can clear everything else from your mind, and you are able to center it in your heart. Mantra. I am open to and aware of the rising energy of love. I am awake to the thrill of feeling the beloved everywhere. I rejoice and celebrate the beauty and wonder of being awakened by love. So, what the fuck is anchoring in us in all this horse shit? Maybe talking like I am trash is why. I don't know. There's an isolation that's self-imposed at the very basis of it. We've disconnected. We have, I made a pyramid of cards. I can't show it to you, but I actually pulled them in reverse order. It just came out that way. Started at the top of the pyramid and came down. It sort of was a trickle-down effect, and then that allowed me in return to then see at the very end of pulling the cards, there are what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards with one Asha Zen Tarot card as a clarifier at the very, very center. And so where we blocked ourselves in this. That, again, I don't want to go against the self-help tropes that we rely on, but this is the I am enough card. And yes, of course, we all have to learn to be enough for ourselves. We all have to learn to be okay in our aloneness. We all have to learn to take care of ourselves in order to be able to take care of others or be generous in any shape or form, materially or spiritually or emotionally. But this feeling gives us the self-satisfaction, the self-reliance becomes comfortable so that when an opportunity comes along, we don't take it. Because what would that one extra pentacle do? It would put us to the 10 of Pentacles, which is the legacy card. It's where we've reached our purpose in the material world. And being too self-reliant isolates and alienates us from the human experience of love that allows us to grow. And subsequently, we can't receive the pentacles. And when we can't receive the pentacles, we fall into not just poverty consciousness, because it's not really poverty consciousness if we just stay stagnant in our own energy, but instead we go inwards and we become cerebrally disturbed and out of alignment. Our mind takes over, and then we contemplate everything that we don't have, why we don't have it, how we don't have it, when did this start, what evolution took place in our lives. Is it because I'm too old? Is it because I'm too fat? Is it because I'm too hairy? Is it because I'm not, I don't conform to talking like a Kardashian, because I don't like the same things that mainstream culture tells me I'm supposed to like. Whatever it is, you know, that it puts you in poverty consciousness around your uniqueness rather than in embrace of your uniqueness. So then you worry, you spend all your time in thought, you spend all of your time thinking, what if, why, how, what can I do not to be like this? Oh God, well, once you open that Pandora's box up, you are monumentally screwed, right? Because it goes against the very essence of who you are. You're trying to figure out how not to have a human experience in order to fit in with the illusion of what a human experience is via the corporatized fascist narrative, right? So, oh God, that was exhausting. Well, the good news is we're moving out of that. But we move out of it via a choice. The choice that we explore is, on the one hand, that we simply put an end to it. The cycle comes to an end, we acknowledge it, we make a conscious decision no longer to fall into the same behavioral patterns. We forgive ourselves, we acknowledge, and then we forgive ourselves and others, and then we move into newness, which in turn leads us to the lover's energy. In other words, that we mirror the beauty of life. We mirror, this is the elevated Turian energy of the, you know, what we want to move into. You know, that we imbue everything in life with love, with unconditionality, with, you know, acceptance, because our unique core does not change as a result of somebody else's actions. We find the beauty in their actions. We find forgiveness in what they do that previously our ego would have been triggered not to be able to handle. It doesn't mean that you have to make space for somebody who mistreats you in your life. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you don't have to give it the weight on your own journey, which then opens you up to having other experiences, right? And that is the problem of our human conditioning, is that society teaches us constantly to be focused on our past, because that's what defines who we are in the present, in the consumerist nightmare. But you get to be whoever the fuck you want to be every day when you wake up. It's a brand new day. Monday is a brand new week, you know? The first of the month is a brand new month, you know? 1st of January is a brand new year for the Gregorian calendar. The second full new moon after the solstice is the Lunar New Year. Renewal, 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 you know? Letting go. That's all we need to do. remain teachable, and let go of what doesn't serve us, right? So that's the easy way, or should I say the harmonious way. The not harmonious way is having to move beyond consciously from our devil energy, our codependency, our addictions, the things that we do that make us resonate at a lower frequency, that enchain us to the mirror image of what we don't want to see, and that becomes a living nightmare, that you're constantly seeing everything through the I'm not good enough to fuck you, you're not good enough to fuck me, I don't, but we're gonna stay and change to one another and rip each other's egos to shreds. But it's just hypothetically an example, And a lot of this comes through as a result of the teachings of how we interact with each other as community, how we interact with each other in relationships. It's the things that we were taught, our parents' relationships, our relationship with our teachers, our relationship with authority figures, our relationship with our experiences from our childhood when we didn't have the conscious awareness to process our emotions without positive guidance. And if we didn't get that positive guidance when we had those experiences, then that leads to some very devilish, diabolical ideas about how these three are going to interact with each other energetically, verbally, physically, spiritually. Mostly not spiritually, right? Well, we do get the opportunity to move away from that, but it requires delving into your, could that bitch be any fucking louder? Like a fucking elephant going by in heels. I'm feeling very enlightened, as you can tell. Whatever. Obviously, I know I'm acknowledging I need to tap way into this subconscious chaos in order to move through those things. I acknowledge that. I know in those moments of clarity when I'm just like, you know what, just let go of the self-judgment. Just let go of the pall of, complexity, unnecessary complexity. Just release it. Don't let it color your now. But I know that it's like really, really hard because I have lots and lots of these fucked up like things that I'm constantly having to figure out how to move away from. But the promise is there. We are moving away from it, whether we do it the hard way or the easy way. But, takes meditative practice. It takes embracing that purification process, right? It takes embracing failure as being a beautiful thing. It's just a word, It's just an experience that has a different outcome than the one that is celebrated in our Ponzi scheme society, right? And the only thing that really transcends all of that is the energy of love. And at crowning this reading, we have the sun. That's the top of the pyramid. So what does that say? I don't know, we're going to have to take a clarifier. I didn't take any, but now I will. If there's one for us. Maybe even two, right? Or maybe there doesn't need to be a clarifier on the sun. Well, no, I'm right on top of it. So I guess we will get that. It's the High Priestess. So It's your spiritual practice. It's being at one with spirit, with God universe. It's embracing that, allowing it in, understanding that when you feel out of alignment, understanding that when you get caught in the chaos of the devil energy and this mind fuckery, it's because you're away from source. It's because you're disconnected from source. And yeah, I get it. Sometimes your conditioning will be like, no, I'll have like, you know, I don't know, like 3 martinis, 3 glasses of wine, a bump of Coke. I don't know what your thing is, a cigarette, you know, too much weed, you know, whatever it is, you know, a cheeseburger, a pizza, you know, that seems like it's going to satiate your need for immediate gratification, when in fact if you found a guided meditation by Steve Nobel online, or anybody for that matter, Ram Dass, go listen to some Terence McKenna, whatever, you know, you just tap into that quietly, breathe, and you will get to that place that you need to be. And things like failure mean nothing there. That is the purification process. And that is when you are fully aligned with this. And I need that. And at the bottom of our deck, looking up at me, there's that 6 of Swords from the Botticelli deck, just staring up, moving away from all that. We're heading here. So, on that note, I wish you a blessed week ahead, and I truly wish you great joy, intense adventure, and enlightenment and love in this new lunar year.